The young man was climbing a mountain when he was hit by a corpse that fell from the sky. Fortunately, his safety rope temporarily saved his life. But this sudden load caused several anchor bolts on the cliff face to come loose one after another, leaving only the last bolt barely holding onto the rock wall. The two of them could only call the rescue team. Park rangers from the national park immediately came to rescue them. Although they managed to rescue them successfully, a thunderstorm was about to arrive. After the heavy rain, all bloodstains and traces at the scene could be washed away. In order to clearly investigate the origin of the body, Officer Turner from the Criminal Investigation Division quickly arrived at the scene. He was the highest-ranking police officer in the entire national park, second only to the local police chief. With his position, Turner could have lived comfortably at the police station, but instead he chose to live in a small cabin in a remote area of the park, spending his days reading newspapers and going online. This made him an outsider in the police team. As soon as he arrived at the scene, he scolded the park rangers for failing to protect it properly. The two witnesses were so frightened that they had seen nothing and could not provide any useful clues.
I looked up and there she was, on the line before I could move.
Did you see anybody else?
Why not just ask Vasquez or me?
Did they see anyone else, Milch?
No, they didn't see anybody.
The park rangers were also helpless and showed no concern for the case at all. Everyone only cared about whether they could withdraw before the storm arrived. Only Turner ignored the risk of being struck by lightning at any moment, fastened a safety rope, and went down the cliff to examine the condition of the body. The girl looked very young, but the body had already been disfigured. Turner carefully touched her wrist. The beaded bracelet on the girl's wrist suddenly snapped apart. The loss of a young life always makes people feel sad. Turner kept feeling that the girl's pale face looked familiar. He pulled the body up onto the cliff, then carefully examined the surrounding area. His effort was not in vain. He found a bloody handprint and several bloodstains in a corner. From these traces, he could almost imagine how desperate the girl had been, running all that long distance while covered in injuries. Then what had been chasing the young girl? This vast wilderness never lacked wild beasts, and it also never lacked desperate people.
Injuries are a mixed bag. Fall at that speed, it's tough to separate pre- and post-trauma. It's all pretty much textbook stuff, Captain Souter. But then there's this. Clearly pre-fall. Canine, if I had to guess. The bite radius is too small for a lion, so coyotes or dogs, most likely. And all this from fighting them off.
But Turner's instincts kept telling him that something was wrong. The girl had no identification papers on her, only a special X-shaped tattoo on her wrist.
Looks like gold to me.
Expensive tattoo if it is.
Mm-hmm.
The park director had a headache because of the sudden appearance of the body. Visitors come to the park to relax, not to see wild animals attack living people or a corpse falling from the sky. The occurrence of serious cases would affect the number of visitors, and in turn affect the park's revenue. The park director had already been very dissatisfied with Turner, especially when Turner insisted on continuing the investigation instead of hastily closing the case. This only made him even angrier, and he threatened Turner.
Along with the Sanderson situation. Lawyers hammering me that you're not getting back to their investigator, the Avalos woman.
Sanderson, what is the point of reopening an investigation into a guy who went missing in the park 6 years ago?
The point is money, as usual.
This was a missing person case from many years ago. The search work back then was led by Turner, and the missing person's family had tried to hold Turner responsible. But the police chief was very protective of Turner because the National Forest Park was too vast.
Listen, we have close to 1 million acres of wilderness in the park. 100 people go missing every year.
Not sure that should be the first line of our statement.
Tell them you can't spell wilderness without wild.
Thanks, Special Agent. We should put it on a bumper sticker. Clever. I'll give the investigator your number. Let you tell her yourself.
Turner did not care about the arguments among his superiors. He only quietly completed his work. The forest at night was quiet and dangerous. Alone, he led his horse beneath the cliff, picking up each bead from the girl's broken bracelet, trying to piece the truth back together. The next day, colleagues at the police station assigned the young policewoman Naya, who had been transferred from Los Angeles to be his partner. Turner clearly knew this was because the others did not want to work with him. At work, Turner was always tough and principled. He told the policewoman to immediately contact the park and get the employee list.
Did you get park employee records?
Requested, but don't have them yet.
Request again. It's possible Jane Doe's a park employee, but not a desk job. So we'll need names, date of birth. Have them check anyone who hasn't been to work the last few days.
Naya immediately wrote down the request. Turner went outside to get the horse, preparing to continue searching in the forest, following the path the girl had taken before climbing up the cliff. Naya did not understand why they had to use such a stupid method. In her opinion, the proper way to handle this case was to investigate all the entrances and exits and the people who had passed through them. If they wanted to go up the mountain to search, driving would be faster. This way of thinking about solving cases was entirely brought by her habits from the big city, but she did not know that in this wild mountain region there was a different set of rules. Turner patiently explained that this national park had 5 entrances and a very wide area, and surveillance cameras could not cover all of it. Hundreds of thousands of vehicles entered and exited every year. Wanting to find out who killed the girl was no different from looking for a needle in a haystack. Besides, with the movement between the mountains and the complex forests here, cars were definitely not the best choice. In places far removed from life, people and everything returned to their primitive state. They rode their horses slowly through the forest, searching along the direction from which the girl had climbed up the cliff. Turner knew this forest as well as he knew himself. No footprint could escape his eyes. He led Naya onward until they found a small cabin at the foot of the mountain. There were bloodstains in the cabin. It seemed that the girl had treated her wounds here.
So she was running from something, hidden here.
Yeah, why not stay?
She was hurt, scared. Maybe figured she wouldn't survive here long enough for anyone to find her.
These are fresh.
Worried about bleeding to death, why take the time to make those?
Worried about something else more.
After that, they walked through the forest and finally found the first scene where the girl had been attacked by wolves. There were still bloodstains there. Even more surprisingly, on a rock near the bloodstains, Turner discovered bullet marks and a bullet head lodged in a tree stump. His heart grew heavy. The one chasing the girl was not only wild beasts but also humans, people even more vicious than wild beasts. This was not an accident on the cliff, nor was it an attack by wild animals, but a murder case. At this time, the forensic examiner conducted a more thorough examination of the body, and sure enough, a bullet hole was found within the bite wound. Turner put together the girl's bracelet beads that he had picked up. Looking at this bead string, he suddenly remembered that a few years earlier the park had once organized a summer camp for children, and both staff and children participating in the summer camp were given bracelets from the camp. That type of bracelet looked exactly like the teardrop bead string. It seemed that the girl had participated in this activity. Perhaps they only needed to check the list of people who had participated in the activity to find out the girl's identity. So he immediately told Naya this news.
It was a 4-week summer program, ran from 2008 to 2011. They gave these to all the employees and attendees.
The case seemed to be making progress. That night, meteors streaked across the sky, and Turner looked up and admired them. At that moment, his Native American friend suddenly appeared behind him, bringing with him an ancient prophecy.
That death has come again to my people's lands. Their bodies will fall like the stars.
Well, I hope your sky's wrong.
The sky doesn't care what you hope.
Turner did not believe in prophecy. He only believed that whatever had been done would leave traces, and that only evidence could reveal the truth. He followed the path the girl had taken and discovered that at one place where the girl had once left footprints, there was a medicine bottle left behind, and on the bottle cap was the same symbol as the tattoo on the girl's wrist. What exactly did this symbol mean? More and more doubts began to surround the case. Turner found a drug dealer in a nearby town.
Who puts this on their product?
But he acted as if he knew nothing. However, because Turner had taken his goods, he had no choice but to agree to help Turner ask around for information. The police chief knew that Naya was looking for the list of children and staff who had participated in the summer camp, so he took her to the police station storage room. There was a pile of identical bracelets here, all of them leftovers. In the past 10 years, almost everyone who came to the police station would receive a bracelet as a gift. Almost everyone in the town had one of these bracelets. Continuing the investigation was only a waste of time. When Turner returned home, he was again stopped outside the door by an investigator. The female investigator came because of the missing person case from many years ago. At that time, Turner had led the search for the missing person. There was originally nothing to blame about his position when doing this work, but the lawyer had looked into it and found out that he had requested voluntary unpaid leave a few months before the search. Therefore, she had reason to suspect that Turner's mental state at that time was unstable, and that he was not capable of taking on work that required such a high sense of responsibility.
Do you feel that you were in a proper condition to head the search for Mr. Sanderson? I saw that you took a voluntary leave just a few months earlier due to a personal matter.
Yeah, I was fine.
Okay, then.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
But when the door closed, he collapsed and sat down on the ground. Memories rushed back like a tide, and the investigator's question pulled his thoughts back to several years earlier. At that time, he had requested voluntary unpaid leave because he had just suffered the pain of losing his son. His son had gone missing in the park, and when he was found again, he was already dead. Perhaps it was exactly because of this that he kept making relentless efforts to pursue the case of the young girl who had been hunted down. Returning to reality, he had to suppress his grief and continue his work. The next day, he and Naya rode horses and continued their work. They passed through golden grasslands and arrived at a lush green meadow. The scenery here was extremely beautiful, but it had been occupied by a mixed group of people. Turner introduced Naya to the fact that the composition of these people was very complicated. Among them, there was no shortage of addicts, conspiracy theorists, and hippies. They only wanted a place to stay away from the noise of the city and enjoy life. Of course, this was illegal.
This isn't legal, right, for them to be here?
Well, you move them on, they just turn up another part of the park. It's like whack-a-mole with bad BO.
Naya held up the photo of the dead girl and tried to ask whether anyone knew this girl, but these people surrounded her.
Don't put your hands on me.
Clearly, these people had something they wanted to hide and refused to give statements. Turner did not want to leave Naya alone in danger, so he immediately stopped this round of questioning. In fact, he had already gotten the information he wanted from the leader of these hippies. She said that before he arrived, the ranger who specialized in hunting deer had come here looking for the shaman Abulo. In the entire park, there was only one person called the deer hunter, and that was Shane. He belonged to the wildlife department and also lived in isolation. Turner and he normally did not interfere in each other's affairs, but this time he had to meet Shane. Turner went to the deer hunter's camp and searched around, but only found beer. At this moment, the deer hunter Shane also came back carrying a gun. His duty was to monitor the deer herd in the park. If he discovered any deer that was sick, he had to shoot it dead on the spot to prevent one sick deer from infecting the whole herd.
So what's a phony shaman like Abuelo have to do with sick deer?
Shane only said that he had some questions he wanted to ask that shaman. As for what issue it was related to some personal hobby of his. Everyone had their own secrets. He had his own secrets, and Turner did too. Turner directly took the hunter's gun and fired a shot into the tree trunk.
Fuck! Jesus! Trying to see what kind of secrets you got, Shane.
The bullet was immediately sent to the forensic lab. Turner hoped they would analyze it and match it with the bullet that had passed through the girl's body. And at Turner's request, the drug dealer diligently helped him ask around among the tattoo artists in town whether anyone had ever tattooed an X with gold dust. The tattoo artist reacted fiercely.
Look, I got nothing for you, T. Just fucking leave it. Now fuck off.
When the drug dealer left the tattoo shop, the tattoo artist kindly sent him a message warning him not to continue investigating. But this warning came too late. That very night, the drug dealer was strangled to death from behind by a mysterious person. The next day, the Native Americans' prophecy came true. Along the river in the park, there was another corpse. The others all thought that the drug dealer died because he did bad things every day and had brought disaster upon himself.
Not his fault.
But Turner understood clearly in his heart that it was he who had forced the drug dealer to ask around for clues, which led to his death. At this moment, Naya at the police station had also found the identity of the first female victim through facial recognition. This girl turned out to be a local girl who had gone missing many years ago. When Turner received the news, he immediately came to his senses and understood where that familiar feeling had come from. Many years earlier, when the girl was still a child named Lucy, her missing person case had been handled by Turner. Lucy's disappearance back then was very strange. She did not go missing on the street, nor at an amusement park, but suddenly disappeared right at home. All the adults were at home, there were no signs of a break-in at the scene, and afterward no one sent any ransom letter. Only Lucy's blood was found on the carpet. She simply disappeared in an incomprehensible way. In cases like this, the family usually becomes the number one suspect, and Lucy's father really was a violent man with many prior offenses. Every day he drank and abused his family, so he naturally became the biggest suspect. He was accused of killing his daughter and hiding the body. Although there was no evidence, everyone had already judged him guilty. Even though the court could not use evidence to put him in prison, in everyone's heart he had already become a monster who had cruelly killed his own daughter. So 1 year later, Lucy's father had to move away from town, but he still did not escape his fate. Not long afterward, he was recognized by an angry crowd and beaten to death outside a bar. Lucy's mother was a good person praised by everyone. She had once worked in the park and was Turner's colleague. 3 weeks before Lucy disappeared, she unfortunately died of cancer. Turner felt a heavy weight in his heart. He felt that it was precisely because he had not found Lucy that the girl had to endure so many years of suffering, and it also caused her father to be misunderstood as a murderer and then be killed a year later. Now the only person who could understand the truth was Lucy's half-brother. So Turner and Naya went to this person's house. On the way there, they received a report analyzing the ingredients of the drugs Lucy had left behind: cocaine, ketamine, pedos, and several other ingredients. When they arrived below the apartment building of Lucy's brother, Turner told Naya to stay behind while he went in alone. Unexpectedly, when Lucy's brother saw him, he ran. Turner tried to chase him but was ambushed by the other party and attacked unexpectedly from behind. At the critical moment, fortunately Naya arrived in time and saved Turner's life. The two of them caught Lucy's brother and questioned him carefully, discovering that he was only a drug addict and had no connection at all to Lucy's case. When he heard that Lucy had disappeared but had not died, he only felt that it was absurd.
Your father ever talked to you about what happened to Lucy the night she disappeared?
You mean before he got beat to death for killing her? Nah, we never hung out much chatting about it. Now you're telling me that little bitch was alive the whole time?
That's not very nice, James.
Who's gonna make right by that, huh? Who's gonna fucking make right by that?
Another new body appeared. As soon as the media received the news, they rushed in. The park director, exhausted from dealing with the media, dumped all his pressure and anger on Turner, accusing him of all sorts of terrible things.
I'm going to file a formal request for your transfer the fuck out of my park. I expect to hear something soon.
In fact, the park director was not Turner's direct superior. They belonged to two different systems. At most, the park director could only put pressure on the police side. Turner always treated the director's threats like passing wind. He told all his deductions and investigation results to his superior, the police chief.
A bullet went through Lucy Cook's leg. Someone was chasing her.
As for the death of the drug dealer, it happened because he tried to investigate Lucy's tattoo and was killed by the murderer to silence him.
More than likely, the killings are connected. Shit.
They still could not determine what was hidden behind them. Was this a serial killer or a huge drug trafficking network? At this moment, the analysis result of the bullet marks from Shane's gun had come out. His gun was not the one that shot Lucy. This left Turner not knowing whether he should feel relieved or even more tense inside. He reviewed the entire case from beginning to end once again and decided to go to the nearby Native Americans to look for clues. These native people lived in the park and were very familiar with the local people and things. If Lucy had still been living in the park, it was very likely that the local native people had seen her before, especially since Lucy's mother had once lived for many years in a small cabin in the park. Turner felt this could be a breakthrough point, so he took Lucy's photo and went to visit them. At present, the native man was living in the cabin where Lucy's mother had once lived.
No, never seen her. Should I have?
Just thought maybe she'd been around.
Like I said, not that I saw.
He seemed especially wary of Turner's white face and refused to tell the truth. Fortunately, Turner also had a native friend. With his friend's help, he heard the truth from this native man. He had once seen Lucy by the cliff. He tried to talk to her, but Lucy hurriedly ran away like a frightened deer. The last time the native man saw Lucy was a few months ago. After receiving this answer, Turner stood on the cliff, his heart filled with endless sorrow. He realized that Lucy had never left. She had no home, so she kept lingering near the cabin where her mother had once lived, wandering aimlessly in this forest. The child who should have been cared for by her parents and grown up safely had completely lost all protection after her mother died. The only world she had left was this forest. She lived like a lost fawn until disaster struck, and she was chased to the end by others before falling from the cliff and dying. This forest held too many secrets. Naya rode out alone, trying to look for clues, and as a result she really did find a hidden cave. What she did not know was that a pair of eyes was silently watching her, and at the same time a gun barrel was aimed at her. But for some reason that person hesitated and did not pull the trigger, only watching her walk into the cave. The next second, Naya slipped and fell deep into the cave. She realized the situation was bad and tried to crawl out through the cave's tangled passage system, but got stuck halfway through. At this moment, Turner went to town. Following the last message the drug dealer had received on his phone, he found a tattoo artist.
I got nothing to say.
Fuck, man. Fuck, dude.
Lay off the gold tattoo shit. Nothing good there,
Listen,
not healthy. You were warning him about
I'm telling
what?
you, man, I don't know.
The tattoo artist said that the reason he had lived until now was because he knew nothing at all. Continuing to investigate this case would benefit neither him nor Turner, and it would be best for him to stop here. From the tattoo artist's words, Turner became even more certain that a huge criminal network was hidden behind this case. He returned home and discovered that one horse was missing while it was raining in the mountains. There was no doubt that Naya had ridden into the mountains, but with such heavy rain, landslides could easily happen in the forest. This was almost fatal for people from outside, who were completely unfamiliar with the terrain of the park. Worried, Turner immediately rode out to look for Naya. Fortunately, by following her tracks, he found that cave. At this moment, rainwater had gathered, flowed along the terrain, and poured into the cave. The terrain inside the cave was low, and the rainwater rushed in through the tangled tunnels. Seeing the water gradually rise, Naya was terrified. Just when she thought she was about to die there, Turner's voice suddenly sounded from behind her.
Turner! I'm here! I'm here!
I see you. It's okay.
I can't move! There's water coming in! You gotta pull me out!
You're okay. I can't get to you. Come back to me.
Turner, I'm fucking stuck! You gotta pull me out! The water's coming in!
Stay there. Nothing has changed. You can make it back. You have to stop fighting it. Close your eyes. Slow your breath. You're on your bed. Your son is beside you. He's looking at you. Perfectly still. You can feel his heartbeat. Just slow your breathing down. Just think of your son. Just slow it down.
Naya crawled backward as instructed and finally escaped the cave with Turner through the passage. Turner then returned home and carefully thought about what the truth behind Lucy's disappearance back then really was. Time went back several years. A little girl was trembling because of the argument between her father and her brother. At that moment, she suddenly heard a voice coming from the dark window. When a little girl leaves an unhappy family, if she is lucky enough to go to a happier family, her life may change and become happy. But if she falls into the hands of bad people, her life is even more likely to drift into an unfortunate current. Unfortunately, Lucy was clearly the second case. Finding traces in the cave gave Turner a new guess. The cave was a shortcut through the mountain, and Naya had accidentally helped them find this shortcut. They needed to search carefully inside it, and perhaps they would find new clues. At present, among the known drug addicts, there was a rather notorious one named Abulo who had gone missing. Although the leader claimed that Abulo had gone wandering to look for inspiration, Turner thought that he had definitely run away because he had killed Lucy. The two of them chose a sunny day and returned to the cave once again. This time the weather was clear, and after they had not gone very far, Turner said,
Hold on.
What is that? What? Is it a cave-in?
Close your eyes.
Faced with Naya's fear, Turner slowly told her about the past of this cave. Turned out that this was an old gold mine. The gold had already been completely mined out, leaving only a little dust that could be used for tattooing. But creatures hiding in the darkness could not live under the light, so they often chose this place as their new den. They found breathing masks in the tunnel and also found many footprints. Following the footprints, they went straight ahead and finally found the missing Abulo at the other end of the tunnel. His body had almost been completely eaten by animals, leaving only a piece of jawbone. The forensic examiner determined that this man had died within a week. They had to continue searching for more body parts to determine the cause of his death. Faced with such a tragic scene, Naya also gradually became accustomed to it. She found more body parts in the forest. From this, the forensic examiner concluded that this man had been shot dead by someone in an execution-style killing in front of a tree. Turner did not stay with them to search for the body because just confirming that Abulo was dead was enough to request arrest warrants. He mobilized a large number of police officers and directly arrested the entire group of hippies camping in the forest. But from the mouths of these addicts, they still did not get any useful clues. On the contrary, a young man who came running over on his own brought him an interesting surprise. This young man took out a photo. The girl in the picture, wearing a dress and sitting in church, was Lucy when she was a little older. This young man claimed that he had once met Lucy in the neighboring town and had become Lucy's friend. But at that time she had a different name, Grace. Pastor Gies and his wife said that she had left to go live with her real family. The reason this young man eagerly provided clues was because Lucy's disappearance back then carried a reward of $10,000. People die for money, birds die for food, and even this remote wilderness was the same. Naya found Lucy's best friend hiding under a tree. Her way of questioning was much gentler than Turner's. Under her skillful questioning, this friend also told everything she knew. Before Lucy died, she had been a drug mule for a drug trafficking gang, meaning a person who transports drugs. She and Lucy met in the park when they were 16 years old. When she came here, Lucy had already been living here for a long time. They had lived together for several years, and the two of them were inseparable. Until Lucy fell in love with a man, she gradually began to forget their friendship, spending every day busy chasing after that man. Lucy worked for that man. In other words, this man was the one who led her into the drug trafficking gang. This man's name was Terces, the reverse spelling of secret. Besides Lucy, among this camp of wanderers, there were also 3 people working in this drug trafficking gang. One was Abulo, who was dead, and another was Pacuna. At this moment, Pacuna was also being arrested by the police, but he refused to say anything. Turner felt that this matter was connected to Shane, so he went to question him. Shane admitted part of the truth, for example that he really did use drugs and had dealt with this drug trafficking gang. But he only did that in order to get a small discount from the gang. The price he paid was turning a blind eye to their actions. But Turner still kept pressing on, trying to ask more. Shane took the initiative to bring up the past again.
What do you think I should remember about that Sanderson fellow, Kyle? When was the first time I saw him, or maybe when was the last time?
When this issue was brought up, Turner suddenly fell silent. That night, Naya took her child home, but then discovered that her son had taken out a toy from her room that she had never bought for him. Naya immediately had a bad feeling. She walked into the bedroom and, sure enough, saw the nightmare of her life, her ex-husband. They had once been colleagues at the Los Angeles Police Department, but her ex-husband had become involved in a case and taken money through improper means. Naya had disregarded family ties and reported him. Because of this, her ex-husband had repeatedly asked her to give false testimony to overturn his case. This time he had even directly chased her thousands of miles to this place. The child did not understand the undercurrents between his parents and still loved his father wholeheartedly. He did not know that to his father, his own life had become a tool to control his mother.
I stay here tonight. We all go down tomorrow, and then this is all over.
For the sake of her son, she temporarily agreed that tomorrow she would return to Los Angeles with her ex-husband. The ex-husband let go and allowed the son to run toward Naya, but very soon afterward, he discovered that the two had vanished without a trace.
Gael?
It's okay, baby. Stay down.
Naya had taken her son and fled the house overnight to go to Turner and seek protection. The next day, Turner asked his ex-wife to help watch Naya's child, while he flew a helicopter with Naya over the forest. Right now, the only clue they had in their hands was Pacuna, but Turner was not in a hurry to interrogate him. Instead, he told his subordinates to release him, then personally flew the helicopter with Naya and monitored all of Pacuna's actions from above. Sure enough, after Pacuna was released and returned to the park, he immediately went back to the drug traffickers' hideout. When he and the drug traffickers finished the deal and came out of the cave, Turner was already waiting.
Let's have a chat, Pacuna.
The drug traffickers' hideout was that cave. Turner immediately mobilized the police to seal off all the entrances and exits of the cave. The drug traffickers fled in panic, but they still fell into the hands of the law. Turner thought everything was about to end. He went in to inspect the place and accidentally triggered a mine that the drug traffickers had buried in advance.
Can you walk?
They blew the lab 2 inches down. Send a rescue team.
After the explosion, although he survived, he was also dazed. This brush with death made Turner realize the value of life. But life was not always so precious to some people. The cunning drug mastermind had already set a trap. He had tattooed an X on the wrists of all the girls who were his drug mules. When he was arrested, these 3 girls mistakenly thought there was no way out, so they injected themselves with a drug overdose together and died. There were 3 bodies at the scene, but there were 4 beds. Turner found Lucy's bag under that bed. Looking at the 3 beautiful young girls dead in front of him, complicated emotions rose in his heart. When he stepped out of the tent, he ran into Shane again. He should not have appeared here, but Shane said that because they had caused such a huge disturbance, he came to see what was going on.
Hey, make sure this guy gets back to his vehicle. Tries to re-enter, arrest him.
Turner knew that Shane was closely connected to this drug trafficking gang, so after returning to the police station, he tried to pry open the gang leader's mouth, but the gang leader bet that his subordinates would not sell him out. Moreover, the drug mules who transported the goods were also dead, so he firmly refused to confess and said nothing. Turner warned him that it was now too late to pretend to be stupid in order to cover everything up, because in this operation a federal agent had been injured. Even if he said nothing, he would still be convicted for assaulting a federal agent. After stepping out of the interrogation room, Turner went to see the gang leader's underling. Turner told him that his boss had just sold him out. They already knew that he was the one who killed Lucy, but the underling looked shocked and had no idea who Lucy was.
Tell me who to pin it on then.
Man, how many times I gotta say I got nothing for you?
Turner looked at their expressions. They were not pretending, and a new suspicion rose in his heart. If it was not the drug trafficking gang that killed Lucy, then who exactly killed Lucy? Naya thought the traffickers might be lying to deny the crime, but Turner did not think so, because the way Abulo died was with his hands tied behind his back, in an execution posture, and then he was buried carelessly in the ground. The death of the drug dealer was also very clean, clearly the work of professionals. Only Lucy was different. Lucy was chased for a long distance and in the end fell from the cliff and died. The killer only shot her in the calf, acting cruelly but not decisively, completely unprofessional. This was completely inconsistent with the clean manner of the two later murders. But if it was not the drug trafficking gang, then who did it? At this moment, Turner was not at home. In his house, there were only his ex-wife and Naya's child. Suddenly, an uninvited guest appeared outside the door.
Hi.
Hi.
Sorry to just wander on your place like this. I'm looking for Naya. One of the rangers told me she might be here.
I think she's down at the station.
Oh, I tried calling her.
You know, reception's spotty in the park. I can go ask my husband. He's in the house. He's a federal agent. They work together.
She trying to make it seem as if her husband was inside the house so she could send this uninvited guest away. Naya's ex-husband had originally been half suspicious and was already preparing to leave.
Miss Jill, can I have some more peanut butter toast?
Hey! G-Man! How are you? Come, give me a hug.
I'm sorry, who are you exactly?
I think she knows who I am. Who's your mommy?
She's at work. I'm staying here with Miss Jill.
She's at work?
You need to go.
When Naya's ex-husband learned from the child that only Turner's ex-wife and the child were there, he immediately intended to forcibly take the child away to threaten Naya. Turner's ex-wife had once lost her own child. Facing Naya's son, who was the same age as her own son, she developed maternal feelings and instinctively risked everything to protect the child. Naya's ex-husband wanted to deal with her as well, but fortunately Turner returned in time. As a result, Naya's ex-husband was successfully sent to prison, and she no longer had to worry about being harassed by him anymore. But what happened that day awakened the painful memories of Turner's ex-wife. She remembered again the pain of losing her son and broke down, wanting to seek death. When Turner received the news, he rushed to the hospital to visit his ex-wife. After leaving the hospital, he went directly to Shane and punched him.
She was your wife, Kyle. Should have told her yourself instead of crying into a fucking bottle.
There seemed to be some secret between the two of them, and this remark successfully enraged Turner. He even pulled out a gun and pressed it to Shane's face. Perhaps only the last bit of reason stopped him from pulling the trigger. But what happened that night ultimately caused a huge uproar. Pressure from the police side led to the decision to suspend Turner from duty, and the entire case was handed over to the Federal Bureau of Investigation. As for the park, his work there had come to an end. Turner had already been preparing to pack his things and leave, but just as he was about to go, he discovered that in Lucy's bag, which he had found under the empty bed, besides the photo there was also her phone. Only then did he suddenly realize it and immediately look for a charger, trying to charge the phone. But unfortunately, this phone could only be unlocked by facial recognition. Helpless, he had no choice but to return to the police station and, before the handover procedures were completed, take the chance to see the forensic examiner one more time. Because of their long friendship, the forensic examiner voluntarily helped him open Lucy's eyes in the morgue drawer. But this phone had biometric recognition, and because it recognized that this was a corpse, it could not be unlocked. The forensic examiner suddenly came up with the idea of wiping the corpse's face to make it look rosy and warm. Thanks to that, they successfully passed the phone's biometric check. After successfully unlocking the phone, he unexpectedly found a surprise in the photo library. There were many selfies of Lucy, and there was also a video of Shane. In addition, he was Lucy's secret lover. Turner immediately stuffed the phone into the car dashboard and told Naya that he had the phone and that there was an important clue in it. If I do not come back, come and get it. Then he called his ex-wife.
I have to go and arrest Shane Maguire. He was caught up in his drug operation, and there's a good chance he killed Lucy Cook. So he's gonna want to take me down too. I have to assume he's gonna talk about Sanderson, about everything. Sorry, but I don't have any other choice.
Maybe it's a good thing.
His ex-wife heard his action plan and did not stop him, but instead said that this might be a good thing and told him to be extremely careful. Turner immediately rode his horse and carried a gun up into the mountains alone. But when he arrived at Shane's camp, he did not see anyone. Just as he was trying to look for a few clues, a shot suddenly came from behind and hit him. At the moment between life and death, his dead son appeared beside him again.
He's coming.
People say that when standing on the boundary between life and death, one can see spirits. Ever since his son died, Turner had imprisoned himself in this mountain region. Now his son had finally come to take him away. But at this moment, he did not want to follow his son to the other side yet. After all, Lucy's case had still not been resolved. He still wanted to seek justice for this child. Turner struggled to get up, clutching his wound as he fled into the forest. This forest was like his home. He was extremely familiar with every tree and blade of grass. Unfortunately, Shane had also lived in this forest for many years, was also familiar with the smell of the forest, and was also skilled at tracking. He had always been the best deer hunter, and now Turner had become the wounded deer. Shane followed his tracks and chased him from morning until evening. In the end, because Turner had lost too much blood, he was exhausted and could only slump under a tree. The darkness blocked Shane's vision. Turner originally had a chance to raise his gun and shoot him from behind, but when he pulled the trigger, the gun had no bullets left. He understood that God had abandoned him. Shane thought he had won and, with the posture of a victor, walked up in front of Turner and asked,
"Why don't you just leave it alone? Move on. Go see your boy."
A gunshot rang out, but the one who died was not Turner, but Shane. It turned out that after receiving his message, Naya had immediately come to support him. This woman from another place had saved his life once again. When Turner opened his eyes again, he was already lying in a hospital. Shane was dead. The police searched deeper into the forest and discovered his secret base. Inside, there were not only a large quantity of guns and ammunition but also drugs and cash. These things were enough to prove that Shane had turned from a ranger who watched over the deer herd into an ambitious drug lord. Lucy had been dragged into this because she had fallen in love with him. As for the reason he killed Lucy, there were thousands of possible explanations. Now they only needed to examine the hidden guns for bullet markings to clarify the truth. Everything seemed to have been resolved. And through this chain of events, Naya had grown quickly and clearly become a police officer with enough ability and experience. When Turner's ex-wife learned that Shane was dead, she finally could not hold back any longer and revealed a shocking secret to her current husband. It turned out that back then Shane had installed motion sensor cameras in the park, originally to record the movements of the deer herd. As a result, he accidentally recorded footage of a visitor kidnapping Turner's son and killing him. That visitor was Sanderson. Shane had shown the video to Turner and his wife and told them to let him kill that perverted bastard. But Turner believed they should find the man and hand him over to the law. Turner's wife could not accept that outcome. She did not want that pervert standing in front of everyone and recounting how he had tortured, sexually abused, and brutally killed her son. For a mother, that was an unimaginable kind of torture. Just thinking about it was enough to make her blood run cold. She did not want to see that perverted man again, so she secretly paid Shane a large amount of money. Shane had never refused money. As long as he was paid enough, he would do anything. Shane accepted the money and then secretly killed that disgusting pervert. And after Turner found out all of this, he chose to help his wife cover it up, but because of that their relationship cracked. The two divorced, and from then on she became his ex-wife. This was the secret between them, and also the reason why Turner insisted on going into the mountains alone, without calling for backup, wanting to capture Shane by himself. Now Turner was about to leave his job. Facing the lawyer who came to him again, he admitted the other side's accusations. His mental state at that time really had not been stable enough to command a search strategy.
If I'd have let someone else take over, there's a good chance he would have been found.
Any errors by you could confirm a wrongful death
Happy
liability.
to sign any statement, fill out any form that you need.
What do you think happened to Mr. Sanderson?
I wish I could tell you. Sometimes things happen that just don't make sense.
After everything ended, he decided to set out again. This time he was preparing to go to the church in the photo to look for Lucy's footprints. Turner wanted to find out where Lucy had been and what she had gone through over the years. The police chief saw him off and tried to persuade him that doing this did not seem worth it, but Turner still set off. He arrived at the church in the photo. This church was now in ruins. In the pastor's family who lived near the church, only the pastor's wife was still at home. She was old and weak, and her mind was no longer clear. However, their daughter had grown up and worked in a bar. Turner immediately went to find the pastor's daughter to ask about the situation from those years. She directly admitted that her parents had previously always run a family business of fake adoption. Because outsiders saw them as respectable, many people were willing to pay to send their children to them. These people could be single mothers, drug addicts, or people unable to care for their children. They thought the pastor and his wife were good people and would surely treat children well. But in reality, those children all lived badly in the pastor's house, always being starved and locked in the basement. Lucy, under the false name Grace, had once lived there for a while and later ran away by herself. She always cried and always hoped that her father would come to take her away. Hearing this, Turner roughly understood everything in his heart. He was preparing to leave when the pastor's daughter called him back.
Grace's dad. It just hit me. She was the one who used to say he was gonna come and arrest my dad, take him away. I knew it was just some little girl's dream, but man, every time she'd say it, I fucking hoped it was true. Anyway.
Her words were like a thunderbolt, making Turner immediately connect all the pieces together. He once again returned to the park to meet the police chief by the riverside. This time Turner had brought the truth. They had conducted a blood type test on Lucy and the man who was said to be her father. But the results showed that Lucy was not that man's daughter. If that man also clearly knew Lucy was not his child, then his bad attitude toward Lucy was understandable. Turner compared the DNA of the police chief's daughter with Lucy's DNA, and the result revealed that the two were actually biological sisters. From the beginning of the case until now, the police chief had always intentionally or unintentionally interfered, not wanting them to investigate Lucy's case too deeply. Turner had figured out the truth. The police chief was Lucy's father and also the one who had fired the gun while chasing Lucy. The one who shot the girl in the calf was also him. Faced with such clear evidence, the police chief could only admit that he had fired at Lucy. Back then, before Lucy's mother died, he had received her request to take good care of Lucy, so he took Lucy to the pastor. He thought that couple were good people, but he had not expected them to abuse children. After that, Lucy ran away from the pastor's house and disappeared from then on. He did not know Lucy was still living in the park until a few years later, when Lucy appeared in front of him again. He had a wife, a daughter, and a proper job. Lucy resented him for abandoning her, so she blackmailed him. The amount of money kept getting higher, but he could still endure it. Until his grandchild, meaning the child of his eldest daughter, was taken away by Lucy, the police chief went mad and took a gun to find his grandchild. After bringing the child home, he wanted to talk to Lucy properly, but when she saw him, she ran, so he fired his gun.
I just wanted her to know that I had to protect my family.
She was family, Paul. Christ.
Turner could not listen to his excuses any longer. He advised the police chief to turn himself in, otherwise he would expose everything himself. But the police chief pulled out a gun instead. At first he tried to negotiate by saying he could help Turner get his job back, but when he saw that Turner was unmoved, he threatened to shoot. Turner still turned his back and walked away, paying no attention at all to his threat. A gunshot rang out. This bullet did not pass through Turner, but through the police chief himself. He had chosen to end himself. In the end, Turner came once again to the riverside. The death of his son had always haunted him. He had originally planned that when everything was over, he would jump into the river to go see his son, but at this moment he hesitated. He could only shamefully apologize to the image of his son. "I'm sorry, son. I think I'm not ready yet. It's okay, Dad." In this world, there are parents who are willing to sacrifice everything for their children, but there are also people who are completely unworthy of being parents. That is the full content of the film Untamed. Do you think this film is good or not? On a scale of 10, what score would you give this film? Please leave your answer in the comments below and let us know. Thank you for following along. Goodbye and see you again.